He stood at the altar, his hands trembling slightly, the whispers of disbelief echoing through the elegant marble hall. Every pair of eyes was locked on him, a 23-year-old university student in a simple black suit, about to marry a woman old enough to be his grandmother. Cameras flashed, murmurs filled the air, and beneath the towering crystal chandeliers, Daniel Reyes took a deep breath. Across from him stood Eleanor Vance, a 71-year-old millionaire widow in a silver gown that shimmered like morning light. Her smile was soft but steady, her eyes kind yet distant, carrying a lifetime of stories that no one dared to ask about. When the priest said, "You may now kiss the bride," Daniel's heart pounded, not from love, but from fear, uncertainty, and a strange ache he couldn't name. If you believe that kindness, fate, and second chances still exist in this world, then please, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stories like this remind us that not everything we see is what it seems. Daniel wasn't a bad man, he was just desperate. Life had been unfair from the start. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat, and his father had vanished when Daniel was 6. He dreamed of becoming a doctor, but dreams don't pay tuition. When his scholarship was revoked after a clerical mistake, he was left with crushing debt and no hope. That's when fate, or perhaps destiny, placed Eleanor in his path. He met her at the nursing home where he worked part-time, changing linens and delivering meals. Eleanor wasn't like the other residents. She was sharp, graceful, and impossibly dignified, even in her quiet solitude. The staff whispered about her wealth, the mansion she sold, the businesses she once ran, the fortune she never spent. But to Daniel, she wasn't a story. She was a person, someone who looked at him without pity, who asked him about his dreams and listened when no one else did. She learned about his struggles one evening as they sat by the window, watching the rain trace silver lines down the glass. Daniel told her how he'd been forced to drop out, how the bills piled up, how he wished he could start over. Eleanor said nothing then, but the next week, she asked him to have tea with her privately. That's when she made her shocking offer, marriage. At first, Daniel thought she was joking. But Eleanor spoke with calm seriousness. "You need security," she said. "And I need companionship. My family doesn't visit me anymore. They're waiting for me to die so they can have what's left." She offered to pay off all his debts and leave him something after she was gone, on one condition: he had to marry her, not as a caretaker, but as a partner, even if just in name. Daniel couldn't sleep for nights. He hated the idea of selling his dignity, but he also couldn't watch his mother work herself to death. In the end, desperation won. He agreed. Their wedding was small but beautiful. Eleanor's eyes shone with gratitude, not triumph. She didn't want to own him, she wanted someone who would treat her like a human being again. Still, as the ceremony ended and he saw her frail hand resting on his, Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know whether to feel ashamed or thankful. The first few days of their marriage were quiet. They moved into her massive lakefront estate, a house that felt like a museum, filled with portraits, silence, and ghosts. Eleanor insisted that he attend his university classes again. "I already paid your fees," she told him softly. "All I ask is that you sit with me for dinner." Every evening, they dined together in a room lined with old paintings. She would ask him about his day, his lectures, his hopes. Daniel began to notice small things: how she always saved the crust of her bread for the birds, how her eyes watered slightly when a certain old song played, how she smiled when he helped her walk through the garden. But 7 days after their wedding, everything changed. That morning, Daniel woke up early to prepare breakfast for her, something simple to show gratitude. But when he entered the dining hall, Eleanor wasn't there. Her wheelchair sat empty. Her nurse said she had gone to the study and asked not to be disturbed. Hours passed. When Daniel finally went to check on her, he froze in the doorway. Eleanor sat in her chair, surrounded by boxes, dozens of them. Old photographs, letters, journals, and newspaper clippings. She looked up, her eyes glistening. "I want you to know who I was," she whispered. She told him everything, about the husband she lost in a plane crash 50 years ago, the daughter who ran away, the years she spent alone building her business empire to forget her grief. She showed him a yellowed photograph of herself as a young woman, holding a baby. Her name was Lily, she said, her voice trembling. She left when she was 17. I haven't heard from her since. Daniel sat beside her, speechless. Eleanor took his hand and placed a folded envelope in it. "If you ever meet her, give her this," she said. "It's not money. It's my apology. But the real shock came when she handed him a sealed legal document. This is my will, she said. You might not understand this now, Daniel, but I see something in you, the kind of goodness my own family lost long ago. He opened it later that night and almost dropped it. Eleanor had left him everything, her estate, her businesses, her wealth, under one condition: he had to use it for education, to help students like himself who couldn't afford their dreams. Daniel couldn't believe it. Why me? He whispered. Her reply was quiet but piercing. Because I see in you the same fire I once had before the world made me cold. The next morning, Eleanor didn't come down for breakfast. Daniel rushed to her room, and found her peacefully asleep, her hand resting on the photograph of her daughter. She never woke up. Her passing shattered him. Despite their short time together, Eleanor had filled a void in his life he never knew existed, a warmth like a grandmother's embrace, a mentor's wisdom, a friend's unspoken love. The world called him a gold digger, a fraud, but they didn't know the truth, that he had gained more from her kindness than from her fortune. He honored her wish. He sold part of the estate and started a foundation, the Eleanor Vance Scholarship Fund, dedicated to helping underprivileged students. He worked day and night to grow it, turning Eleanor's legacy into hope for thousands. Years later, while giving a speech at a university event, Daniel noticed a woman in her 50s standing near the back, tears streaming down her cheeks. After the ceremony, she approached him, clutching an old envelope. You must be Daniel, she said softly. I'm Lily. I got your letter. Daniel's heart pounded. She handed him the envelope Eleanor had given him to keep. Thank you, she whispered, voice breaking. You helped me forgive her. That night, Daniel visited Eleanor's grave under the silver moonlight. You kept your promise, he said quietly. And I kept mine. He laid a bouquet of lilies on her tombstone, her favorite flower. As the wind rustled the trees, he could almost hear her gentle voice. The world is cruel, Daniel. But you were my miracle. Years passed, and Daniel's foundation grew beyond anything he imagined. He never remarried, never sought fame. His happiness came from the lives he changed, from the letters he received from students whose futures had been saved by Eleanor's gift. One winter evening, he sat by the same window, where she once sat, now old himself, and watched the snow fall quietly over the lake. The world had moved on, but her memory lingered like soft music. He smiled faintly, whispering to the empty room, You taught me that love doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes, it's sacrifice in disguise. And as he closed his eyes, the world outside glowed softly, like a promise kept. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video, so others can believe in the power of kindness, forgiveness, and second chances too. Speech balloon special request. Before you go, comment below, do you believe true love can exist without romance? Because sometimes, love is not about who you marry, but about who changes your soul forever.